Om Shri Sai Ram, offering our most humble and loving salutations at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan, Sri Satya Sai Baba. It is really gratifying and fulfilling to continue this beautiful journey of Sai Ram Katha and now Ram Gita. As we always say, this is such an impossibly looking task that we have ventured into. But it's only Bhagwan's grace that we are even able to discuss and share whatever little we are absorbing and we have gained from our masters. So with that few words, let us begin with our prayer, and I'd like to ask you all to join us in the prayer. O Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for Thee. O Lord, take my soul and let it be merged in one with Thee. O Lord, take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for Thee. Om Shri Sai Ram. Welcome to this beautiful journey. And as we have seen, the Ram Gita has progressed beautifully with Lord Hanuman carrying this beautiful task of helping us by questioning and asking, inquiring from the Master, Bhagwan Sri Ram. Today the journey has reached where Bhagwan Ram has shown Pavan Putra Hanuman his cosmic form. He has also shared with him the great secret of life, which he says is my most treasured information and knowledge. But beauty of the whole discussion is that even after having the vision of Master, the cosmic form, the sadhaka still has some questions left. And this thought itself has puzzled me a lot. Because you presume that once you have experienced him, then there should be nothing left. But here we find why even Vedas declare that Supreme cannot be acknowledged or recognized even by Brahma. With 1,000 mouths, Sheshana can't repeat the glory of or narrate the glory of that Master. So even after experiencing him, the cosmic form, there is still so much to explore the Lord that Lord Hanuman continues to inquire further. So today he is dwelling into something beautiful. So let me welcome my brothers here and we'll take the discussion forward. So Sai Ram, Brother Raju.
Sai Ram, brother.
Welcome. And let me invite our, okay. So we'll call one more, and Brother Anil is also joining us shortly. So we are continuing with this journey, Raju, and today the beauty of today's journey is discussion point is that Lord Hanuman is asking Bhagwan Ram at this juncture when he has got the secret knowledge from Lord Hanuman. Brother Anil is also here, so we can welcome him.
Sai
Sai Ram,
Ram,
Brother Anil.
Sai Ram Abhimanyu, Sai Ram Rangnath.
Sai Ram.
So, brother, we are jumping into this topic straight away. And the beauty is that after all these experiences, I am personally wonderstruck that you still have questions. And the questions are so relevant that, the more I dwell into it, obviously it is a learning curve, but it's always puzzling that after all that, Lord Hanuman is asking him, hey, Ram, tell me about the four mahavakyas, the great eternal statements which have been extracted from the Vedas, and they are given in an order. And Lord Hanuman presents this case. So let me bring that thing and we can open this discussion. So he says these are the four mahavakyas, Bhagwan, which are taken from these four Vedas. And as we know that Vedas were classified by Vedvyas, Bhagavan Vedvyas into Rig, Yajur, and Sam, and then later on Atharvan was added up, and they all have the categorization done based on the needs and subjects. And he says that each Vedas they came out with a certain statements. Rig Ved came out with Prajnanam Brahma, which is knowledge as Brahman. Yajur came out with Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. And from Sam it came out Tat Tvam Asi, that thou art. And from Atharvan we got I am Atma Brahma. So this is a sequence in which the Ved have taught us, because the description came out from the sequence of the Vedic Vedas declaration. So Bhagwan Hanuman is questioning Purushottam Ram, Maryada Purushottam Ram, that Prabhu, tell me about these four statements and what is the right way to practice them and make our life sanctified. So this is where he stands, and the beauty is how logically Hanuman presents these cases and then how Bhagwan Ram presents it. And once we discuss that, then we can look at how Bhagwan Baba has also described them beautifully. So let me open the floor. So Brother Raju, you want to start?
Yes, brother. Sai Ram, can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
In one of the discourses, Swami gives a beautiful explanation about these four mahavakyas. Swami, Swami being a very compassionate and a very powerful teacher, he gives us a very simple but profound example that allows us to realize the interdependence and the interconnection of these four mahavakyas. So Swami says, imagine the rain. He says that Akasha which contains, or the sky which contains that massive cloud, is Prajnanam Brahma. And from there, the cloud forms is called Ayamatma Brahma. And then the rain, that droplets falling to the earth, is Tat Tvam Asi. And the river flowing is Aham Brahmasmi. So this is the explanation that Swami gives, and then Swami, as you said, Swami orders them in a beautiful manner. He says it is starting with Ayamatma Brahma, then comes
Mm,
uh, uh, Tattvamasi, then Aham Brahmasmi, and the last is Prajnanam Brahma.
Yeah.
So Swami gives a very very simple and profound explanation as to how it all starts with. It says that I am Atma Brahma. There are three words, and here there is that individual identity, and there is Atma. There is, first, if you take I am Atma Brahma, there is I am, there is Atma, and there is Brahma. There are three entities. So there is that mistaken identity of one own self, oneself, and it is in some sense what others think you are, what you think you are, and what you really are. It is starting at that level. I am Atma Brahma. I am Atma Brahma. What?
Duality.
Yes. So duality, and then from
It's
there,
actually, it's actually triality, actually.
Yeah.
Reality. I,
Yeah.
Atma, and Brahma.
Brahma.
Correct.
And then the mistaken identity, Swami beautifully gives an example that when sun rises, the mist in the morning, winter morning, it just evaporates. In the same way, through contemplation, his Swami says manana and nididhyasan, through continuous contemplation and reflection, you realize that the individual identity is not different from the supreme identity. So at that realization, Swami gives the example of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, and he also says that it is not It is not a one day affair. It cannot be achieved easily. Continuous and constant contemplation on this is required, and then that takes you to the second stage, where the first mistaken identity that I am is dropped, and there is only that and that and this, that and this, tat and tvam. They exist here. Swami, again beautifully, Swami explains that tat is the philosophy, or rather the existence, which has been there since you began, or even before you began. It is there even your time, and it is there after you, the so-called you exit. It is that eternal supreme source, and that is that tat and tvam is this individual identity. You realize that both of them are more or less same, similar. And then comes, and again, as Swami says, again contemplation, continuous contemplation on this truth. Slowly and steadily the deeper meaning of it emerges, where so before we go, Swami gives a beautiful example that Asi is the link between Tat and Tvam. Tat, Asi is that existence. So that exists and this exists, and those two are one. And then Aham Brahmasmi. So now that it was actually far, now it becomes near. I am that Aham is me, that I-ness. I am only Brahma. That it is not far. It is me. I am Brahma. So that again, that Asi still exists, but that individual identity, that individuality still exists. That there is that Brahma and there is me. It still exists. Earlier it was far, now it is near, but yet the individuality exists. And slowly and steadily, as Swami gives the example of Ramana Maharshi, where the individual identity merges into the supreme self, and then you realize that everything is one, and you are the supreme consciousness. Swami gives example of, again, Swami calls it as the supreme consciousness, as we were discussing this few minutes ago, prajnanam, the constant integrated awareness, the Satchit Ananda, and that you realize that you are actually that, and it is the end of one's own spiritual journey. Yes, sir,
So
you can.
Prajnanam Brahma.
Yeah.
Anil Bhaiya, your take
Yeah.
on these.
Yeah. Couple of points here. Swami has taken it to a next level. In fact, in his discourse, Swami said, Aham Brahmasmi also is not the final state. Aham alone exists. That's all. There is no Brahma and Asmi. Aham. That's all. Right? Nenu Nene. Swami used to say. There's nothing like Nenu Brahma Vakate is not what Swami said is the ultimate. Only I exists, right? So
Then he
Aham
said, I am I.
Brahmasmi,
He said,
I
I
am
am
I.
I.
I am I. That's right. So there's nothing else to be explained beyond that. So that's actually a beautiful. It's actually a reality. Each one of us create our own world, right? Through our perception, we create a world. So what exists if we don't create, right? What is the reality in science? Also, there's very famous experiment. It's called as Schrodinger's cat experiment. If a cat is kept inside a box, right? Means
The
this is a
box.
popular way of
Cat,
understanding,
the cat and the
right?
box. Yeah, calculus,
Yeah.
right?
And then there is a poison there, and at a particular point the vial gets broken and poison is released, right? So if we don't then follow up, means if at that particular point of time, if we don't follow up the experiment of whether the vial has been broken, whether poison has been released, we don't know whether the cat is alive or dead, in what state is the cat. Means in the sense, if we don't perform an experiment, if we don't perceive the universe, we don't know in what form the universe exists. This is the reality of the universe. In the sense, there is no universe there actually, right? Our very effort of perceiving it, our very effort of conducting an experiment decides the outcome. We are creating the outcome by the very act of creating a perception. Means so kamayata. Have very thought is immediately creating a universe. So suppose thought wasn't there, what is there? So I am I. Nothing else exists. So that's where Swami said Aham Brahmasmi should be taken to the next level, which is I am I. That's where Prajnanam Brahma, beautiful description for Prajnanam Swami has given as constant integrated awareness. A beautiful word, Swami coined it himself in, I think this was in 1984, just before the Bhagavad Gita discourse, if I remember. Swami gave a series of discourses on these mahavakyas. And at that time, Swami said, what is Prajnanam? Prajnanam, and beautiful example Swami gave is, suppose I keep pen in my hand, if not a kerchief. Swami gave the example of a kerchief. Right now, I'm taking the pen because kerchief is not right now with me here, right? And then I show a tip of it like this, right? I show a tip, or maybe a part of it like this. Now, what is this? Our knowledge is like this. We look at that bit and then make any number of theories out of it and say this is what the world is. But actually, what is awareness? You look at it in its totality, right? This now, your understanding of this is complete. What is it? What is it made up of? What can it be used for? Everything is clear, right? So this total awareness is integrated awareness, Swami said. That completeness in
Just to help
understanding.
here, there's a brother Srinivas asking about this word knowledge. He's
Hmm.
talking about spiritual and worldly knowledge.
Yeah, that's what
Unfortunately,
Prajnanam is
English, English
translation.
really kills it. English translation of prajnana is not knowledge, if you look at it.
Correct.
Because
Yes.
jnana
So,
itself is wisdom. The
so he should,
prajna is,
yeah, he should, the Prajnanam English translation is what Swami has given, constant integrated awareness. So he should, that should call, knowledge is Brahman should be replaced as constant integrated awareness is Brahman. Okay. So that is the one that has to be written there. So this has to be constant. This complete awareness has to be constant. It has to
see,
become
jnana, yeah, just
uh,
to simplify
without
for him,
without a
jnana,
break. Hmm.
yeah, jnana
Yeah,
is wisdom. Jnana is wisdom. And prajnana becomes when the wisdom is constant, stable. So that
yeah,
is why Bhagwan's explanation, what you are saying, makes sense, is constant integrated awareness. So that becomes pragya.
correct,
Because it's not a wisdom only, it is constant integrated awareness, wisdom. So
correct.
that becomes awareness. So it's a beauty. So I
Without a
hope,
break.
brother, yeah.
So that is Prajnanam Brahma. And with respect to Tat Tvam Asi, I think we should recall in Chandogya Upanishad what the how this whole Tat Tvam Asi comes about. There's a story, right? It's actually Tat Tvam Asi Sweta Ketu.
Yes.
Invariably, every sentence there ends with Tat Tvam Asi Sweta Ketu. Sweta Ketu was was a son of a rishi, I forget, Uddalaka, and he goes for learning all the knowledge and comes back very, very arrogant. Means that he has completed learning all the knowledge that is there. So he becomes like when we get degrees, the kind of feeling we all have, right? So similar feeling, he came and told his father Uddalaka, I know everything now. And he was, Uddalaka could see that kind of a sense of achievement leading to arrogance in his son. And he said, okay, have you, then he asked him, have you learned what, by learning which you don't need to learn anything more? Have you learned that knowledge by knowing which you know everything? He says, there's nothing like that which was taught. What was taught? No one ever told me, no one ever told me there is some kind of knowledge by knowing which everything else will be known. No one ever told me that, and I don't think it exists. Then Uddalaka tells him the series of experiments actually these are, tells him to go and get a glass of water and some sugar or salt, and asks him to add the salt in water and asks him to stir it, and then says, where is the salt now? He says salt is everywhere. Is it there at the bottom? Is it there in the middle? Is it there on the top? It's there everywhere. But can you see it? No. But take it and put it on your tongue. Can you taste it? Yes, I can taste it. Then his father says, "O Swetaketu, O son, like the salt is unseen, present everywhere, all across the unseen, it's present everywhere across the whole glass of water. The Supreme Self is present across the whole of the universe. And that Supreme Self are you. Tat Tvam Asi Shvetaketu, he says. Then the next example he gives is that the small seed of a, I think, people tree. It's very small, no? The fruit, the seed of a people tree is almost this minute. So he says, people tree comes out of this, right? So if you sow this, a people tree comes out. Yes, it comes out. You break it open now. Can you see the people tree there? No. Then where is the people tree? Just like the people tree is hidden inside the seed, the Lord of the universe, which you yourself are hidden across this whole universe. Tattvamasi Swetaketu, he says. Like this, it's such a beautiful way. Means each time, means no, the way father goes on to explain to the son the
Uh-huh.
knowledge. It's so beautiful, really. So that's how that Tattvamasi Svetake, that step no comes in there. So it's a beautiful story, and I think it's so relevant. And the way Swami has explained through the analogy of rain, how the water when it goes up through. By the way, how is that the cloud forms? Cloud will form only because of the heat of the sun. So heat of the sun here can be compared to tapas. So that's why in Arunam, this is Magamasam, right? Aruna Prashna is used for the worship of sun god. It ends with a beautiful statement. Tapasvi punyo bhavati, tapasvi punyo bhavati, tapasvi punyo bhavati. How do you get that punya of getting this knowledge? It is through tapas. And through that tapas, the cloud of Ayamatma Brahma can be formed, from which the rain of Tattvamasi can come. Right? So it is that effort, that tapas which has to generate the heat for initiation of this mahavakyas in each one of our lives. So
Beautiful.
Swami's grace should help us to reach this, go through these four mahavakyas. And by the way, Adi Shankaracharya has given one. I don't know which one is for which matham. Each four pitas he has started across the country, right? Northwest, east, and south. Each of the pitas have been given one mahavakya as the core mahavakya. If I remember, Aham Brahmasmi, Yajur Veda Aham Brahmasmi is the core Mahavakya for Shringeri Sharada Peetham, which is in the South Karnataka. Shringeri Sharada Peetham means the Peethadipatis are supposed to constantly ruminate on this Mahavakya. So he has given one Mahavakya for each of the four Peethas as the core
You know,
motto of.
when I was studying Bhagwan about these four mahavakyas, I remember he saying that, I am Atma Brahma. For that, a sadhaka needs to practice this first. So in this stage of life, a sadhaka must remind himself that this Atma is Brahma, this Atma is Brahma. So starting point. But then
Yeah.
you need a guru who will teach you Tat Tvam Asi. That what you are saying Atma is that you. But that I thought I understood. But today when you are explaining this story about this saint, it gave a very beautiful perspective now. What does it mean that you are? By talking about that fire you are, that it is so beautiful when he explains that Tattvamasi from that perspective, right? So it's so beautiful that he Swami says that Tattvamasi you need a guru to teach you that what you are practicing, Atma is God, that Atma itself is you. So that is Tattvamasi. And then he says when you practice that with the guru, then you will realize that oneness with the Brahma. And when you realize the Brahman, then you will get that constant Brahma Jnana, wisdom. And that becomes Pragyanam Brahma. Each time I think, I always believe that I understood now something, a new explanation comes and I get, oh, now I understand better. It is like each time you jump to the next like level of understanding and you say, wow. So for me, that is the case
No, that
today.
story that story becomes very exciting and interesting because it is something that we can also practice as we go
Yes.
along, no, in our day-to-day life. These are all the examples which will again connect us back to those truths, right?
Yes.
And one more I want to highlight for everybody that the way Bhagwan Ram has addressed to Hanuman, that is exactly the way Bhagwan Baba has been teaching us.
Yeah.
And that similarity for me was beautiful because I realized that all the avatars behave in the same way. So they have a
No,
they have
no.
a constant
I
template.
think we have to hear. In fact, Prema Vahini. When I was reading in parallel as Ram Gita was going on, I was reading Prema Vahini. Exactly whatever Lord Rama has told Hanuman in Rama Gita, the first parts of our discussions were almost similar things Swami has told in Prema Vahini.
Point. Yes.
Yes.
Right? So then I realized Swami's compassion. He is even more compassionate than his previous avatar of Rama avatar. Because there he gave this knowledge to Lord Hanuman, who is he means no, he is Bhagwan himself, and as a sadhaka, he is at a different state. Whereas for all of us, Swami didn't see our abilities or our uh, means no,
Yeah.
our ability to do sadhana. We are not even
Actually,
sadhakas. I don't think we can.
actually
At
we
least
were
I would even
we were
qualify as a sadhaka, right? So, but Swami has given this knowledge to all of us, as though we are Hanuman, right? That
but
is
I was actually we were talking, Raju and I were talking before, discussing it that in Rama's time, Hanumanji was there to question.
yes,
In this time, there is nobody like Hanuman to question him. So he
nobody.
himself wrote Prashnottar Vahini. He became the student, he became the teacher. So he has questioned and he has answered it so beautifully.
And this, just to
Okay,
add that, in one of the discourses, Swami also compares any of his act. So he in his every act is filled with lot of profundity and meaning. He compares even the Lingodbhavan that Swami does on Shivaratri to the four mahavakyas. He gives a very profound explanation comparison. He says Prajnanam Brahma is equal to Andapinda Linga, which is
Mm-hmm.
the entire universe. And then Ayamatma Brahma is the Sadashiva Linga.
Wow,
Tat Tvam Asi is the Jnana Linga. And Aham Brahmasmi is the Atma Linga.
wow,
And the
beautiful,
essence of all these four is the Hiranyagarbha. So
beautiful,
when Swami was saying,
wow,
beautiful, no?
wow. I have
yes,
not heard this before. Beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
so
wow.
beautiful,
Wow.
this is
amazing.
Repeat again. Repeat again.
in 1961 he gives this discourse. 20th Andapinda Linga is for Prajnanam Brahma, Sadashiva Linga is for Ayamatma Brahma, Jnanalinga is for Tattvamasi, and Atmalinga is for Aham Brahmasmi, and the essence of all this is the Hiranyagarbhalinga. The entire universe is the Hiranyagarbhalinga.
Wow,
Wow.
beautiful,
Wow. And he
amazing.
showed the Hiranyagarbha to all of us, man.
Yeah.
Can can you believe that he has shown Hiranyagarbha to all of us? Oh,
And if you take all the lingams that Swami has taken out, more or less they fall in either of these
Yeah.
five categories.
wow. Taking the discussion forward from there, Pragyanam Brahma and how Ram takes it to the next leg, and that is where you're talking about Pragyanam Brahma and Hiranyagarbha Linga. He takes this, merges the whole culmination when you have that enlightenment, it leads to Hamsa. And that is an interesting, lead. So he talks about the Hamsa. That is actually turns into Hamsa Gayatri also. The gross body is a seat of nerves. The nervous system is a seat of prana. The prana is the seat of jiva, and the seat of jiva is the seat of hamsa. This Kutastha, or the Supreme One, is known by the name Pratyagatma.
Wow.
Anil Bhaiya, please explain this for everybody's benefit.
Oh my God. No, whatever a little Bhagwan inspires. The gross body, see here actually, these are like the radiation, vibration, and materialization, right? So, what Swami has said, the way the universe is created is from the radiation, from where the actual energy flows, right? That leads to vibration, and that is the flow of energy, and that vibration gets translated into gross system, which is materialization, right? So this vibration only, which we discussed many times earlier, is the vibration which initiated the whole creation too, right? Which is the Shakti aspect. So material here, the order is going in reverse. Gross body, the seat of nerves, that is the materialization. The material grossness, right, is the seat of nerves, and this nervous system is the seat of prana, because nervous system is in turn connected to the chakras, which I think we'll discuss as we go along today.
Yeah,
The chakras are the powerhouses where the nerves get connected and energy flow happens through these chakras. So the energy from the radiation starts flowing into the body, right? And where does it flow through into the body? It flows through these chakras. And as it flows through these chakras, it activates the nerves, and that is how the whole body system starts functioning, right? So this, the prana shakti, the prana, which is nothing but energy, is flows through the into the gross through the nerves. If we go backwards, that prana creates a vibration, and therefore that is the vibration, the seat of the jiva, which is where the individual self responds to the supreme self, right? From where the energy is flowing. And this jiva is the seat of hamsa. The reason is this jiva is a reflection of the supreme.
Hamsa.
Hum,
Hmm.
actually, it is only what hamsa. If you keep repeating, what remains is self. It's actually saham, soham. It's almost similar to
Yes,
soham.
Soham.
yes. That's what
Hmm.
Swami says in discourse. If you keep
Ah,
repeating hamsa, 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 it becomes soham, soham, soham,
soham,
soham.
soham, soham, soham. It's actually soham only, right?
Soham.
So, yeah, because the jiva is a reflection of the Paramatma, right? So the jiva, that the vibration which is the cause of running this gross body, is nothing but a reflection of the radiation that is coming from the energy, is actually flowing from the Supreme Lord. In fact, in one of the, I think it was one of our PG, Swami used to give these interviews to outgoing batches, if you remember. Abhi, at that time, during our student times, every
Yes.
outgoing batch used to be called inside the interview room. Whatever be the size of the batch, we all used to fit inside that small, so-called small interview room. Okay, so and then Swami used to questions used to be asked towards the end. Swami used to speak so wonderfully, and towards the end, yana questions adagandi, Swami used to say, and then once I think it was in our PG, or I think it was UG. I don't remember which batches this happened. Someone asked Swami, Swami, how will we know you are constantly with us? How will we know that God is with us always? Swami smiled. Swami said, how do you know you are alive? And it was such an obvious question. All of us didn't have an answer, of course, but then we were wondering what to say. Swami said, you know you are alive, right? And why are you alive? Because this is a beautiful point, Swami said. Because constantly divine force, life force, is flowing into your body through that ninth to 12th vertebrae. Energy is constantly flowing. If that divine energy is not flowing, you are not alive. So where is the question of you being dealing from me, Swami asked. How can you
Oh my
even think
God.
that you will be separated from me? It's not possible. As long as you are alive, you are with me all the time. It is my
Oh my,
force which is keeping you alive, right?
oh
So
my
that
God.
radiation, so radiation is flowing through this, the seat of Hamsa, through the Jiva, in a continuous manner, through the energy, and that energy gets translated, flows through the nerves and runs this body. So that is how it's actually happening, right? So this kutastha, the where from the energy is actually flowing, right, is described in various ways. Where is this kutastha? Where is this supreme energy which is flowing into the body? We can imagine it all over the place. We can imagine it right above the crown chakra. Right from there, the energy continuously flows into the body, and that thing is called as the pratyagatman. So it is the radiation, vibration, materialization constantly with every individual. This materialization cannot exist without radiation being there, right, constantly with me, and that radiation is getting translated into a vibrational energy, which is making this synthesis of the molecules. See, finally the body functions through molecular system, right, which is all gross. It could be a serotonin, it could be a adrenaline, it could be any of these hormonal systems which function make the body function, peptide hormones and so on, right? So that is explained here. What Swami has made it so simple: radiation, vibration, and materialization is what is this Hamsa Gayatri.
Beautiful,
And
beautiful.
one thing I should recall here, as I'm saying this, Hamsaya Vidmahe Paramahamsaya Dhimahi Tanno Hamsa Prachodayat. There's a Hamsa Gayatri, right? And whenever during the Veda chanting time, we used to say this Hamsa Gayatri used to come. It will come as the last part of Meda Suktam. We'll end Meda Suktam with Hamsa Gayatri. So whenever used to come, Swami used to immediately look at us wherever Swami's been attention was drawn at that point of time. But invariably, the Hamsa Gayatri, when it comes, Swami will look towards the Vedam voice and repeat this. His lips used to move, and he used to repeat this Hamsa Gayatri. Few aspects in Vedam, no, I observed Swami used to repeat deliberately to tell us, no, these are very, very important Vedic mantras. Swami used to repeat it. And whenever Hamsa Gayatri comes, Swami will repeat it. He was so fond of Hamsa Gayatri.
Hamsa Hamsaya Vidmahe Paramahamsaya Dhimahi Tanno Hamsa Prachodayat. Beautiful. Actually, I've seen Bhagwan repeat that, but I never understood even the significance of it, never knew that, how important this is and how Bhagwan is adding energy into that chant. So, but
Yeah.
it's
And
beautiful. Thank you very much for sharing.
And the discourse, Swami adds brother, that Hamsa is there are two peculiar qualities of the word Hamsa. One is as we sorry, in fact three. One is the first what we discussed. 1997 October discourse. He says Hamsa, Hamsa, Hamsa. If you keep chanting Hamsa, Hamsa, it becomes Soham. So that is the first quality, first aspect. Second, Hamsa is also known in the uh, uh, you can say mythology or historical sense. It is also known as a bird which is able to separate water and milk. It is the only bird which is capable of separating water from milk. So he says, just like when you say Hamsa or when you say Paramahamsa, what does it mean? He says that aspect of yourself, the discrimination has become so powerful that with one look or with one glance or with one thought, you're able to segregate the world and the changing and the eternal. The both aspects of the world, what changes and what never changes, can be known and can be simultaneously perceived by a person who is able to do it simultaneously. It is in some sense it is that Swami says in that poem అవతరించుటనగా అర్థమేమి జీవ ప్రజ్ఞతో పాటు దైవ ప్రజ్ఞ, the jiva prajna and daiva prajna, the changeless and the ever changing. The ability to differentiate these two is the second quality of Hamsa. And third, there is a reason as to why Lord Ramachandra is taking Hanuman to Hamsa is, in my little understanding, is this: the topic that we will next to eventually what we come to is the reason I think why Rama is deliberately leading Hanuman to Hamsa. Swami gives a beautiful explanation in one of his Vahinis. He compares, he asks the question, who is the rider of Hamsa? He says it is Saraswati. Now, what does Hamsa is a Soham, 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 as we just discussed. And what does Saraswati play? She plays Veena. And how many notes that Veena has? The seven. And what is there are two blobs at one end and the other end. And that entire structure is nothing but your spinal cord with the Sahasrara on top and the Mooladhara down. And your spine is represented as that Veena, and that prana or that breath continuous in and out of the breath is the prana. That prana is placed, that Saraswati plays on that veena, and hence that prana, when it touches those particular nerve nodes, it emits different kinds of reactions, and that in what a little understanding all of us call it as life or living. So
Beautiful.
as Lord Ramachandra, I think he's deliberately leading. This is Swami's explanation. He is deliberately leading Hanuman to Hamsa. He's such a profound. I mean, if you realize, if you read very carefully Rama's Gita, he actually takes up a topic and he gives one explanation. So we will, as we go, we will see that even at the end of the next topic, that is the seven chakras, there also Rama leads to the same conclusion. It's like he says the end of all chakras is Prajnana Brahma, and he says how it happens. That we will see, I think, as we go
Is it
forward.
like Swami, no? Swami style, you take any topic with Bhagavan,
Yes.
be it a spiritual topic or a management topic, he would culminate with Atma, Atma Gyan. It is that.
Why management? Even sports, football. Swami
Every-
comes and sees. Swami will say the ball is full of air and therefore it
yeah,
struck the road. So give
yeah,
up
so
the go, right? And in fact, one
everything.
more thing here in this analogy, no, Saraswati is considered as the Vak Devata Swarupini, right?
Yes.
And it mother writes on Hamsa, and this Hamsa is actually the breath, right? So hum breath, like Swami used to say, so right? So that breath, to make it very clear, just if you pose one question, no, can we speak without outgoing and incoming breath? Hold the breath and try to say a single word. Not possible.
Impossible.
You can't.
We can't, right? So that is
Yeah.
why Mother Saraswati, who is Vagdevata Swarupini, who is the Adhisthana Devata of word, rides on breath.
Breath.
See
Beautiful.
the amount of depth of knowledge that has been stored in symbolism in our scriptures.
Beautiful.
No,
Beautiful. Okay, let's take the journey forward. And since we have already introduced Chakra's point from the prana, seat of prana, we have seen that. I would like to start off asking you, how do we understand now? Because there is a concept of chakras, and every second person, because of its fanciness today, with yoga getting popular around the world, everybody talks about it. So I think because Bhagwan Ram has also touched upon it and Bhagwan has dealt it very seriously in these areas, so it will be appropriate, I think, to re-highlight and explain or try to share what does this chakra, as you are talking about the energy points and all that. So let us define and create an understanding of what are these chakras, how do we understand them, and then we can look at how to activate and all that, whatever is mentioned here. So I'll open the floor, both of you, please. How do we understand these chakras? What is this chakra? If somebody says, what are these chakras?
chakras are, as we discussed just some time back, they are the energy. They are the powerhouses where the energy that is received is transformed to the low. Either it is step down transformation or step up transformation that happens. It's like a transformer, right? Which steps up or steps down the incoming energy and makes it available for the gross body to function. And what we observe in all these chakras, one very, to make it more evident, each of these chakras are so positioned, are so eight chakras. Actually, there's seven chakras are the most popular, but they say nine, they say 10. And in Arunam, it is said as eight. Ashta chakrana vadvara devanam purayodhya. That's how they describe the body in Arunam. Ashtachakra, Ashtachakra Navadvara. This body is having nine holes, nine entry points, and Ashtachakra. Ashtachakranavadvara Devanam Purayodhya. Only Devas run this, which is Ayodhya. This body is called as Ayodhya actually. Why? Because no Yodha can enter this. No one else can enter this body. And Devatas as Angirasas are running the body. The functions of the body are happening. The Anga, every Anga has an Angirasa. Angirasa is the form of the energy, the divine energy, which is making the particular Anga function, right? So that Angirasas, in a sense, can be looked at as the chakras. They are connected to the, and if you see in a gross anatomical correlation to it, each of these chakras are connected to an endocrine system. And we know in science now that endocrine system is actually the trigger for a particular set areas to function. See, thought, see, one thing we have to understand, we get a thought. Thought is making a body function. I'm moving my hand, I'm speaking, you are nodding your head, you're smiling. How is all this happening? For these to happen, see, for if I have to move my hand, it's a series of molecular changes that are happening, right? So for this to happen, that means it's a gross reaction that's happening. So for a gross reaction to happen, what is making this gross reaction? What is the origin for this?
Thought.
A non-gross, non-material thought, right? So a thought, which is energy, has to get translated to a gross molecule, which will make the function happen, right? So in essence, every moment, no, we are God. We are creating something from nothing. We are creating a molecule out of nothing, right? In essence, if you see what Swami is to create, right, is happening every moment of our existence. Because how can the body function without, from a thought, this is happening, right? So it is the energy flow. So, and how does it happen in if you go by normal human physiology? This thought triggers set of hormones at various stages in our body, and that those hormones go and trigger the tissues, from tissues to the cellular level. This, every cell has got the outer receptors for these hormones. As soon as the hormone comes and sits there, it triggers a set of reactions within the cell, right? So that is how, so it's the hormonal system which controls the body function, which manages the body function. Both autonomic, means both voluntary and involuntary, both are managed by the hormonal systems, okay? And these hormonal systems in turn are released from the endocrine glands, and these endocrine glands are directly connected to the chakras, and therefore it is the flow, it is the functioning of each chakra which controls the functioning of an endocrine system. We will see, I think, in the next
So,
slide, the
I'm sure
endocrine
we'll
system
keep on,
and
we'll keep
and the
doing it.
chakras. Yeah, and
Yeah,
the same things. Is it that only in Indian philosophy we talk about this? No, there are 72,000 energy meridians Chinese philosophy talks about, which run the body, and they have a whole lot of medication given based on those energy meridians. If you see them carefully, they also, those 72,000 energy meridians, which are like nerves, again conglomerate at 7 positions in our body, which are pretty close to chakras. We call them chakras, they call them as 72,000 energy meridians, which have 7 nodal points. It is more or less the same. So because
same.
the, that is how the
Yeah.
body function has been regulated,
So
right?
what I've understood from this, correct me if I'm picking it up right, is that these 7 or 9 points, we'll look at it now, are the kind of a conduit or receptor points from
for the
where
energy.
the core energy to come and the gross body to function. So they
Yes.
become the linkage of that corner spot.
Yeah.
So, and obviously it has an energy movements and all that, hence that's the name of Kundalini and all that comes in. But the concept of that, the first has to be activated, the Mooladhara, and then it has to rise. That concept needs to be recalibrated by people that it is not that you can, and Bhagwan Ram very beautifully explains that, our rishis have done a lot of experiments by activating, working on all the nine chakras to realize later on that the life energy, like you were mentioning before, resides between ninth to 12th vertebra, and that is the spot for Anahata chakra. So that is why I said that is the life breath. So that is the portion to be meditated upon. And as we go forward, we'll see how Bhagwan has also collaborated the whole thing in a very beautiful manner. So looking at this perspective in mind, let us proceed further and see how these chakras are defined by Bhagwan Ram in Rama Gita and how he has explained them of their plexuses and how it develops and what are the identification mark. So we have these nine chakras up to Vishuddhi. We all know it is a common thing. Then comes a Talu, and we look at the location of these chakras. Then have Agnya, and you have Nirvana chakra, and then you have Sahasrara chakra. The identification, what they see as a physical manifestation, Mooladhara, they say it is a fire. Swadhisthana is like a shoot of a coral, so it's very small, dotted. Manipur has lightning. Anahata is owl-shaped light. Vishuddhi is light-colored Sushumna. And Talu is vacuum, which is right in the skull. Ajna is thumb-sized light. And Nirvana is dark red flame. And Sahasrara is a brilliant stream of electricity like Vidyut. So this is how they have described the the physical manifestation of these chakras, how they have to be looked at. Any thoughts before I move forward and show you other things?
Yeah. Means if you look at these, the Mooladhara to Vishuddhi means from here, from Mooladhara to our throat, which is the Vishuddhi, right? Till there, it is the, we can call them as the COO of the body, the chief operating officers of the body system, right? So because they only execute a function. Where is that function coming from? The orders, the CEO of the body is from Agnya to Sahasrara. Talu, Agnya to Sahasrara. Those three, especially Talu, Nirvana is also called as Odhyana, and Sahasrara. These three are the CEO of the body. They decide the vision, mission, statement for this body, right? So the reason is, it is the self identity, the self actualization. Everything happens in those three: the pituitary, the hypothalamus, and the pineal glands. They function only based on each one's ability to have an identity, self identity, self actualization. Right? When these are in proper condition, these function well. So they determine the purpose of life. If everything is in order, these three glands function well. If purpose of life is not there, right, or is it gets distorted or it's lost halfway, invariably we see endocrine glands related to the top three getting into malfunctioning. So the CEO of the body is these three. The COO are from down below. They just follow the messages that come from the top. Pituitary controls the rest of the body, and pituitary takes the order from pineal. And in between, hypothalamus manages the pineal gland. Right. So it is these three chakras which manage the whole body function. Talu is the one which is like the switch station. The flow of this knowledge from top to the bottom happens through talu. Is the place where you have this second tongue, we call, no, in our mouth, right? That
Yes.
second tongue is the place where talu is situated. That's like the switch station. The incoming knowledge is directed to the right positions from talu, right? And that is where Talu is given lot of importance, even in Shikshavalli, which is one of the first in Taittiriya Upanishad. The first component is Shikshavalli. There, if we learn Vyahritis, there are 7 Vyahritis. After telling about Vyahritis, Vedamata says, Saya एषोऽन्तरहृदय आकाशः तस्मिन्नयं पुरुषो मनोमयः अमृतो हिरण्मयः अन्तरेण तालुके य एष स्तन इवावलम्बते सेन्द्रयोनिः यत्रासौ केशान्तो विवर्तते व्यपोह्य शीर्षकपाले. It says, once you understand these vyahritis, means the what the body is made up of, what the mind is made up of, what the intellect is made up of, means the panchakoshas. Once you understand them in their depth, in fact, earlier things, how to meditate on them, how to understand them, also has been given by Vedamata. It's so beautiful. Each one of them, how do we meditate on them, is all given. And after that, if you follow that, tasmin nayam purusho manomayah amruto hiranmayah, in the hridaya akasha, saya eshontara hridaya akasha, in the hridaya akasha, you were telling just now, hridaya is a very, very, which is the anahata chakra. Just now you told that that chakra is very, very important. Swami said that because in the hridaya akasha only the Purusha, who is Amrita Swarupa, exists. Same thing comes in Narayana Suktam also. Narayana Suktam, what it
Hold on,
says is,
hold on. Before it becomes too heavy for people, let me little bit show them little picture so they get a more idea about what are we talking about and what positions are you talking about. Okay, otherwise it will become too much to digest also for people. Okay, let me take you through this diagram to explain the positioning of these chakras, and that will help what Brother Anil was telling us all that. So you'll get a perspective. So Mooladhara is right at the bottom of your spinal cord. And correct me if I make a mistake, Brother Anil and Aju. Okay. So that is Mooladhara. Then 4 fingers, they say, up is your Swadhisthana, which is basically your where your intestine and everything starts off in a spot, and then comes your Manipura. Manipura is 2 fingers above the navel. It's right at the navel, about 2 fingers. That's how they explain. Don't ask me how. Okay, then Anahata is that heart chakra, the Hridaya chakra that we're talking about, between 9 and 12 vertebra. That's your Anahata chakra. Then comes Vishuddha chakra, which is at
throat.
our throat
Throat.
level. And then comes the Talu that Brother Anil was mentioning right now. Is actually, they explain it, is that right back of our tip of our nose.
No.
If you go inward, in the center, that is Talu chakra. And then comes Nirvana chakra. Nirvana chakra is actually a bone here in our Sanatana thing. When you cremate a body, we collect ashes, and that is what we are expected to pick up while we are picking up our ashes. Is that it's a lingam shaped, and it's this bone here which holds the skull. So medically, I don't remember the word which they use it, and they say that it holds the skull also. It's very critical, and that is what is Nirvana chakra. And then comes the Agnya chakra, which is that between the eyebrows. And next, last is your Sahasrara, and that is your final one. Each of these chakras are also vibrating with sound. They have their own vibrational sounds. Mooladhara has got Lam, Swadhisthana is Vam, Ram is Manipur, Yam is Anahat chakra, Hum is Vishuddhi chakra, Nirvana chakra, Talu I don't know because there was some two phonetics letter were connected, so I couldn't figure out how to present it. And Nirvana is that Bindi is missing here. I couldn't know how to type it, so it is And Agnya is Sham, and Sahasrara is Om. So these are the phonetical sounds of it. So what Brother Anil was giving us now, I think with picture in front, it'll be more relatable to understand how things work and why Anahata Chakra is very critical. So Brother Anil, Raju, I open the floor. With the picture in mind, you can present.
In 1977 June discourse, brother, Swami gives a beautiful explanation about each of these chakras. He starts off with the Mooladhara chakra. He says it is the lowest one, which is at the end of the spinal passage, and he says that it is it is important. I mean, the major function of this chakra is to ensure that the body stands in erect position, and to ensure that whatever is taken, the food that is kind of assimilated, it is essentially, Swami calls it as Annamaya Kosha, or he calls it as the Prithvi Tattva. And this is the Prithvi. Swami is actually he's drawing comparison or parallel to chakras, then the five
And the
elements,
Panchabhutas, yes.
and the yes. So and the panchakoshas. So koshas and five elements and chakras. Swami is drawing a parallel, and then he goes to Swadhisthana chakra. He says this is the important function, most important function of this chakra is to maintain the heat in the body. It is it is hence related to the Agni principle or the fire in the Panchakoshas. And then the one above it, the Manipura chakra, he says that this chakra's main function is to ensure that there is a proper circulation of whatever you have taken in the body, especially the blood and other nutrients. So this is related to the principle of water or the Jala Tattva. Then the one above it is Anahata chakra. He says it is primarily the function is to maintain the prana or the breathing process of the body, and hence it is related to the Vayu Tattva. And Swami then goes on to explain Vishuddha chakra, which is the Shabda's other or the voice, or Shabda's other word is Akasha, and hence he calls it as that which is related
Akash.
to the Akasha, Panchabhutas and Akasha. And then he, as Alkumar sir had earlier pointed out, Swami then talks about Agnya Chakra, where he says at that point the entry into the Vijnanamaya Kosha opens up. So Agni Chakra is essentially Vijnanamaya Kosha, and from there the entry into, so that's a passage where they opened up the Vijnanamaya Kosha, and then you go to Sahasrara, which is the Anandamaya Kosha, which is the crown. And he categorizes them into three beautiful buckets. He says the down to Muladhara and Swadhisthana,
Swadhisthana.
they are more or less related to the Icha Shakti or the desires, the basic
Desires.
desires of the human existence. And then Swami then talks about the next two of chakras, which are more or less related to the Kriya Shakti, the next three chakras, which is more or less related to the Kriya Shakti. They are like the effort, they are in continuous effort. The heat element, the water element, and the uh, air element, they are continuous, and also the walk element, they are in continuous endeavor form. So that's why it is Kriya Shakti. And the top two, Swami calls it as the Jnana Shakti, where once those two are activated, the Jnana element in our thinking becomes very high. This is the explanation that Swami gives.
Yeah, I've made
Beautiful.
the chart of it. Actually, I will show his chart later on when we talk about it. But yes, that's perfect,
Beautiful.
Raju. Yeah, beautiful it is. Just to show you that Brother Anil had shared this diagram. The Brother, you want to say, Anil?
The talu, the chakra that is talu is also called lalana chakra. And actually, this talu chakra is the one which where the from sahasrara, when that nectar of the ambrosia of amrita starts flowing after the realization, it is at the talu, it seems it gets accumulated, and from the talu it gets into the rest of the whole body. So So that's where I said the talu is like the switch in station. It controls the flow of this energy, this ambrosia, which comes from the Sahasrara. And from the Sahasrara, where is this ambrosia coming from? It actually in Saundarya Lahari, it is described as mother sits in the Sahasrara, and from mother's feet the amrita flows, and that amrita is actually keeping the body in the shivam form, in the alive form. The life force is actually flowing. In fact, Swami also once beautifully, this was when I was in my 12th, Swami was speaking about Krishna, and Swami said there is actually 16,000 petaled Sahasrara is actually the 16,000 petal lotus, and the center of it sits Lord Krishna. That's why Krishna had 16,000 gopikas as his wives. They say it's actually 16,000 petaled lotus, which is the Sahasrara, in which Lord Krishna is sitting, and with his leg, whichever petal he touches, those thoughts and those actions get triggered in the body. So that time I was thinking, see, everything is finally his wish, nothing is ours actually. To
Can
think
you
that we
believe
are
that? So sweet, huh? It is so
so sweet,
subtle.
so subtle. Lord Krishna's feet,
You know,
where it, where it
I
touches
was
a
listening to
particular
some
petal, it
yogis.
seems it's so beautiful. But the analogy and so even now so vividly it is stuck in my mind. It's such a beautiful way, and if we really live in this consciousness, know that it is actually Lord Krishna sitting there and playing with his feet, moving his like Swami used to move his feet under the robe, right? So he's moving his feet and hitting one petal as he wants, and that petal will start creating the related set of actions
Action,
in the
that's
body,
all.
right? So,
You know,
and that energy,
I was listening to some discussion of some yogis, and they were saying that many sadhakas, they can't, their energy gets blocked near the Vishuddhi chakra, and they don't know how to get up and how to, evolve, and they feel frustrated. And in fact, they go on to explain in Atma Ananda Ramayan, he even mentions that they get frustrated, and some people even become atheist at that level. They say it's
hmm,
all waste. We have wasted so much of time and nothing has happened. So then he explains in a very beautiful way. I'm sure it's Vashisht writing, Sage Vashisht, and he says that that is the Guru Kripa to cross this. So now when you're
yeah,
mentioning that he tapping with the feet, whichever play, that it's actually Guru Kripa. And when you look
yeah,
at Bhagwan's expression, Swami used to say that, right? That up to that level, human effort can still do something, and I
correct,
can help you. But after this, it's purely divine grace.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, that is how Swami would say that you can do this much and I will give you plenty back. So it's okay. But after that stage, no effort can work. It's only grace. So I think this is where the Vishuddhi cutoff is there. Because after that, whether it is Talu or it is Agya and Sahasrara, it is purely the divine blessings that can take you.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I think the story version is so cute to know that that Bhagwan is tapping his feet and whichever you know
Petal it touches,
petal he,
that
he
petals related thing gets activated in the body. So that's the
and
analogy Swami gave. And actually,
analogy.
from Lalita Sahasranamam, same thing happens. Brahma Grandhi Vibhedini, Vishnu Grandhi Vibhedini, Mooladha. See, the three Brahma and Vishnu are at the first five levels. Agnya Chakra is the Shiva. Shiva Shakti, just now what Rangnath brother was saying, no? See, it says as Mooladharaikadalaya Brahmagrandhi Vibhedini, Manipurantardita Vishnu Grandhi Vibhedini, Agnya Chakrantaralasta Rudragrandhi Vibhedini, Sahasrarambujarudha Sudha Sarabhivarshini. Mother sits in the Sahasrara and lets the ambrosia Sudha Sara Abhivarshini, like a rain, she releases the nectar, right? And at the Agnya, it is in the Rudra form, Rudra Grandhi Vibhedini. She is in the form of the Rudra. At Manipura and Mooladhara, she is in the Brahma and the Vishnu stage. What just now Swami was saying is actually Swami was talking about Lalita Sahasranama's Bhashya in essence, right? See, so subtly Swami used to do. When we now correlate, as you are saying, no, I was thinking exactly what is given in Lalita Sahasranam. Swami has just made it simple for us to understand. This is what is given in. So Brahma is, is the creator. We know it very well, right? So Brahma is sits at the Mooladhara, right? That's so it is
I
the
think,
Ichha Shakti.
I think, why don't you read this? Because together with people now can follow that with you. That shloka
Yeah,
is 9.
Mahim Mooladhare. This is mother. This is in Saundarya Lahari. How mother activates or exists in each of the chakras. Mahim Mooladhare, Kamapi Manipure, Huta Vaham Sthitam Swadhisthane, Hridi Maruta Akashamupari. This is exactly what Swami just now told you, the
Yes.
Pancha Bhutas and the existence of mother in each of the chakras. Your translation you will see. Manopi Bhrumadye Sankalpamapi. Okay, yeah. We can go for that. Sankalpamapi Bhitva Kulapatam Sahasrare Padme Saharahasi Pratyaya Viharase. So the translation is exactly the Panchabhutas, which Swami just now said. In Mooladhara, the secret part, you depict Bhutattva, the earth, right? The Manipura, the navel, you depict the Jalatattva, the water. In Swadhisthana Chakra, between the navel and the secret part, you depict the Agni Tattva, the fire, right? In the heart, in Anahata Chakra, you depict the Vayu Tattva, the air. Above that, in the throat, the Vishuddhi Chakra, you depict the Akasha Tattva, the space or ether. Between the eyebrows, in the Agnya Chakra, you depict, you here means mother. Oh mother, so this is a description Lord Shiva has written about Shakti. You know that part, no? Saundarya
Yes.
Lahari, first
Yes.
41 slokas are written by Lord Shiva. So Shiva is saying this to mother. You depict the Mahat Tattva, the mind, thus flowing through the various 6 chakras in the Shishumna Nadi, you reach the 1,000-petaled lotus in the head called Sahasrara Chakra and remain there with your husband Sadashiva, enjoying perfect bliss of Ananda.
So I'm actually kind of odd because I never knew this portion. I was thinking that I found it independently, 1971 disco, which I read out. This seems to be exact excerpt of the discourse.
Exact.
Just
You know, one more point I'll tell you. This, which is very fascinating. As you were telling, no, I realized, my God, Swami's just told the actual secret. You know why? In if you see normal correlation of chakras with Panchabhutas, no, they correlate the Mooladhara with earth, right? The Swadhisthana, because what comes above earth?
Agni Jala, water, Jala.
Water, na? So people
Yes.
say the very next one is water.
Oh, wrong.
And then Manipura is
Yes.
fire. Only
Yes.
in Saundarya Lahari, Lord Shiva gives the reverse. He gives earth followed by fire, then water. Swami has given exactly the same thing.
Actually, I asked the
See,
same question to
means no,
Brother
the
Anil.
deep secrets,
That,
no?
that
Deep
yeah.
secrets, how Swami reveals so casually. See, this is where, no, every time nowadays I'm reading Swami's literature, I'm realizing, my God, how much depth Swami was been telling us, and how foolish was I not even understanding that Swami was telling deep truths, because we never read at that time. So one more discourse it was for us, right? But then so much, my God, he is just amazing and made us all feel he's just casually talking to us.
Look at the other one. Oh, sorry, no. This is the 10th one, right? 9.
Yeah, that was ninth one. Now 10th one also talks about the chakras only.
Yes, yes, yes. 1 minute. I'm just trying to see. Actually, this whole thing, if you look at it, how Bhagavan has been, sharing these things with us. And
It's
okay,
amazing,
here,
really.
yeah. Let me show you this. As we are talking about, Raju, you read it. Actually, you have read this, Raju, from that discourse perspective. Now look at how it has explained. I'm just trying to put it in a chart here. The Mooladhara belongs to the Annam, and as you said, keeps the body erect and healthy. and it is the earth part. Annamaya kosha. Swadhisthana is prana, represented by fire, is the nature of prana, and survival and protection of the body is the cause. So if anybody has an issue, then Swadhisthana. Then Manipura is fluid, water, and it controls the blood circulation part, flow of blood to Annamaya and Pranamaya kosha. Anahata has an air nature, the quality of air, heat, and dust. So this controls the breath. So here you have pranayama, and he says this is the portion which actually activates and controls the inner strengths. So as Brother Anil was explaining, right, that
There's
anahata
so
is
much.
the controlling
It's
factor.
so fascinating, Anahata in Lalita Sasnam also, Snigdhana, for each of the chakras, no, for mother existing in each of these chakras, you have to worship mother with a particular color, particular sound, and particular food, right? Food also has been defined. For example, it starts with this one is payasanna priyatvak sthapashul loka bhayamkari amrutadi mahashakti samruta dhakinishwari. This is for the Vishuddhi chakra. So it's okay. I'll read out all of these and then we'll discuss. Vishuddha chakra nalaya raktavarna trilochana katwangadi praharana vadanaika samanvita payasanna priyatvak sthapashulloka bhayamkari amrutadi mahashakti samruta dhakinishwari. This is for Vishuddhi. Anahata chakra, Anahata Shyamaba Vadanadvaya Dramstojwalakshamaladi Dhara Rudhira Samstita, means in which form mother is there in that chakra. The form is fully described, whether mother is having two faces or one, five faces, four faces, what color is mother is in Raktavarna, Mamsavarna, things like that, right? And what is the ayudhas she is holding, right? And what is the food she likes, right? So, Kalratyadi Shiktyoga, Vritta Snigdhaudana Priya,
That's why you
Mahadevi,
can write commentaries on it because it's so symbolic. So
so
people can
symbolic,
really interpret it and
Mahavir,
all that.
yeah, yeah. Based on this, endocrine nutrition is something that I'm writing down. One small book on this. Mahavirendra Vardha, Rakinyam Bhaswarupini,
So you're doing
Manipurabjanilaya.
research on that?
Yeah, yeah. मणिपूराब्जलया वदनत्रय संयुत वज्रादिकायुधोपेता ढामर्यादिभिरावृता रक्तवर्णा मांसनिष्ठा गूढ़ान्न प्रीतमानसा समस्त भक्त सुखदा लाकिन्यम भास्वरूपिणी. देन कम स्वादिष्टानाम्बुजगता चतुर्वक्त्र मनोहर शूलाध्यायुध संपन्ना पीतवर्णातिगर्विता मेधोनिष्ठा मधुप्रीता बंदिन्यादि समन्विता दध्यान्न सक्त हृदया ढाकिनी रूपधारिणी
Wow.
मूलाधाराम्बुजारूढ़ पंचवक्त्रास्ति संस्थिता अंकुशादि प्रहरण वरदादि निषेविता मुग्धौदन सक्त चित्ता साकिन्यम भास्वरूपिणी आज्ञाचक्राब्जनलया शुक्लवर्णा षडानन मज्जा संस्था हंसवती मुख्याशक्ति समन्विता हरिद्रानैकरसिका हाकिनी रूपधारिणी सहस्त्रदल पद्मस्था सर्ववर्णोपशोभिता सर्वयुद्धधरा शुक्ला संस्थिता सर्वतोमुखी सर्वौदन प्रीत चित्ता याकिन्यम भास्वरूपिणी. We may not have time to go through all, but Anahata is beautiful. Why? The reason Anahata is important and why Swami said Anahata is the chakra that you have to give attention to is because heart, through various suktas that we know and whatever Veda, little bit of Veda we have read, we know heart is the place where the Lord resides. Okay, that's one reason. What is another reason? Heart is, see here, snigdhaudana prita means the ghee rice. Snigdha actually means, if you translate as snigdhaudha, is actually ghee rice. Snigdha, word snigdha in Sanskrit means that which connects, that which um, sticks, right? So snigdha is that which connects. And if we really see the beauty of this whole, means the scientific aspect, Anahata chakra is directly connected to thymus gland. And thymus gland is the one which makes the body host cells. The immune system of the whole body, gets modulated, gets arranged, gets primed up by thymus gland. Are you understanding? I hope I'm trying to, I'll make it even more popular in a sense. The
Yes.
understanding of the host body cells with, say, the microorganisms that are there in the body. So the communication that has to happen between the microorganisms that are within and the host cells that are there, and the foreign things that we eat or we breathe, or all those cells that come, the interaction means everything to do with interaction, a connect, no, is controlled by thymus gland. See the
Okay.
beauty, and that is directly connected to heart. And the unfortunate thing is, when a person is young, till about his 11th 12th year, thymus gland is this size, it's a big thymus gland that we have here. And with age, the thymus gland becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. If we are able to keep the thymus gland's size and activity same, we will continue to love more and more and more and more, because connection is nothing but love, right? Ability to understand the host cell with a bacterial cell, communication is nothing but love. Whole of immune
You know,
system is controlled by love.
Anil, Vijaya, we need to sit down for a separate science session here.
No, no, no,
I'm
no.
sure people who
Is it
love
not?
science,
Is
they
it not?
will.
No, no. Is it not obvious that whole
Wow.
of whole of communication, if our host cells are able to coexist with microbial cells or coexist with outside things, they are able to exist because they are loving each other, right? If they start hating, then the immune system will go for we call it autoimmune disease, right? So only when there is an element of love will the immune system function well. And that element of love is controlled by Anahata chakra through the thymus gland at a gross level.
Wow.
And therefore,
Wow.
Anahata is so very critical for us, because it is the one which gives us the love part. Love
Wow.
at the molecular level, love at the physical level, at the spiritual level. That's why
See, that's
Anahata
why
is so
Bhagwan,
very,
I believe, I understand. Maybe that's why Bhagwan used to always talk about Hridayam. And he would
yeah,
always say not the physical heart, but Hridayam. And he would
yes,
always insist on the word Hridayam. And that is a fantastic part. And the fun part is that Hridayam is exactly here
yes.
at the
And
center
see,
level.
and see the
So
correlation in
it's
Lalita Sahasranama also. The food that mother, the form of mother that is existing in Hridayam, the Anahata chakra, she likes Snigdha Anna. Snigdha is ghee rice, if you translate it as, but Snigdha also means that which connects, that which loves.
okay. Let me take you to the
Mother
next
likes,
that
see how, what the
verse.
correlation right away there, right?
Read this shloka which you're talking about.
We'll go for translation straight away.
Okay, just quickly. Okay. So there is
Oh
a
God, is
10th
simply
verse.
the flow of Amrita. This is what Swami said as Lord Krishna. Flow of Amrita Dhara flowing from the two divine lotus feet. You do Abhisheka of all the nadis in the body, formed of Panchabhuta, and from the Chandra Mandala, which showers Amrita Kirana, you start your journey back to your natural original location, the Mula Adhara, and assume the shape of the serpent in the form of Kundala, remaining there in the Mooladhara Kunda, which has a very small hole. So this is like Kula Kundalaya Kaula Marga Tatpara Sevita. Mother is described as Kula Kundalaya. Kula Kundalaya is nothing but the Mooladhara. Mooladhara, mother exists in the form of a serpent. Energy in the form of a serpent is coiled up and sits there, right? But this energy is, how is it released? It's released from mother's feet, from the Sahasrara,
Sahasrara, from
sitting there
Sahasrara.
from
It is
Sahasrara.
so subtle that we get lost because if you look at the element of depiction, the fire is not Mooladhara. The fire
Yeah,
is of
man.
Swadhisthana.
Yes,
You see the beauty? So the energy which you're talking about, it is like a latent energy potent sitting in the Mooladhara, but
correct,
activation visibility is in Swadhisthana.
correct.
It is
And
so
this Mula,
phenomenal.
and this Mooladhara, who else sits? Who is the Adhidevata of Mooladhara? The
Who's that?
favorite son of mother. Who is that?
Kartikeya.
Ganapati.
Ganapati.
Mooladhare.
Ganapati. Ha.
Ganapati.
Ha. Ganapati. Ganapati. Yes.
In
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Atharva Shisham we chant, no?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Mooladhare sthitosi nityam. Mooladhare sthitosi nityam we say. Right? And in
See,
fact,
we chant, but unfortunately, I'm so sorry. I chant, but I don't know.
Mooladhare sthitosi nityam. Ganapati sits in the Mooladhara. And
Muladhara.
that is why he
Oh,
has to be prayed before we
first.
start a spiritual journey, because it is he who has to say, okay, tell mother, now let us release this GB. Both of them together will then give a okay, then our journey starts, right?
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, look at the next one. Because I'm so fascinated by all the declaration which Bhagwan Ram and Bhagwan has done. So it is important that we look at these things. See what he says. Having known thus the self, the partial form of bliss intelligence, located in any of the nine chakras, the aspirant who wishes to be relieved entirely from the transmigratory life gradually enters the full form. I find this so fascinating to hear. Like, imagine how much it is hidden that any of these nine chakras can lead you to only partial realization of bliss intelligence, which is our Satchit Ananda. And
Yeah.
that qualifies us to go forward. So imagine all these, even if you get activated and all that, you are not yet merged. It is just
Yeah.
that now you are ready for that. You are
I
now
am Atma
qualified.
Brahma. You are at the I am Atma Brahma state,
Can you
right?
imagine this? It is it shakes me up sometimes to imagine, like, my God, what we think it is beyond our comprehension in the spiritual realm that turns out to be the starting point. So all these
That is
effort
where
which
I
we are
think that is
doing.
where we have to remind what I'm getting reminded of is what Swami used to say during examination time. I think we mentioned this in our discussion sometime before also. Invariably during examination time, no, those days when Swami used to come and walk between students and speak to students, right? Examination time, invariably Swami used to see all swollen eyes and unkept hair, partially washed, shaven faces, and used to see everybody putting a lot of effort, not sleeping in the night, day and night, working hard. He used to come, see all that, and then invariably two, three, at least I've heard it 3 4 years, I'm very certain. So I used to come, and during that period, invariably used to come among boys and then say, "See, you are working so hard for getting one paper, a degree, right? To earn a spiritual degree, should you not put the same effort?"
In fact, brother, he
When you
had told
just
us
now said
in our
no,
in our
just now
12th.
said, uh,
Yeah, I remember in my 12th, we used to get that 1 month holiday to study.
yeah,
So we would go to, when we had a holiday,
morning
so we
darshan,
could go
yeah,
for darshan.
go for
And
morning
that was
darshan, yes,
that's a story, different story altogether. But this same dialogue happened. One day, we had a habit of reading when Swami is not there, obviously. So one day, one fellow was sitting in the front. He had the book in open and his head was ducked down. And he didn't realize when the interview got over and whatever happened. And Bhagwan, he could swiftly come out and he stood in front of him. So the poor fellow was still looking at the book and reading, and suddenly he saw a red robe in front of him. So with a jerk, he looked up. Oh my God, I got caught. Like, I didn't get Swami. And Swami smiled at him, and very lovingly he said the same statement. But he asked in a question way. He said, "How many hours do you all study?" So then Swami, normally we go back and, after school we study for 2 hours or whatever. Then Swami said, "Total?" I said, "Swami, examination time more." He said, "How much?" So like that, he was creating the discussion, conversation. Some boy said, "Swami, we study 10 hours or 12 hours, and during examination, Swami, it gets heavy and we have to study." He said, very softly nodded. He said, "Chudra, for a small test, you are studying 12 hours. For this test, how much you are supposed to prepare? He did himself. For this test, how much are you supposed to prepare? And he smiled and
Correct.
went off.
That's true,
I was like,
really.
I was like,
Many times
wow.
really, it's so true. No, see, spiritual life also is pretty like just now as when you are saying, in spite of all these chakras opening up and all that happening, we are still nowhere. So there's
Actually,
so much that we need to learn, so much that we need to experience, and oh
so
Lord, when is it
imagine,
going to
like,
happen? I
imagine
keep
how
wondering,
humbling,
Swami, when is all this going to happen?
imagine
Really?
how humbling it is to know Hanuman is asking these questions. Lord Hanuman is not an ordinary
Yes.
person. And that also with all of these, he says, now you are eligible to get a guru. Now you are ready to start. It's like, oh God, like, so where are we? You don't know
Yeah,
that.
really.
Anyways, let's look at it how he has explored further. And this is where Ram explains in the spinal column which exists between the ninth ring and the 12th ring is the essence of life. This is called Anahata Chakra. The passage of air through this Anahata while breathing in and breathing out sustains life. Now look at how
Wow.
Bhagwan Baba has summarized it. So I've enjoyed this comparison. Among them, two are important. Baba says one is the Hridaya Chakra and the chakra relating to the heart. The other is Sahasrara relating to the head. The Hridaya Chakra describes in Vedantic parlance as Hridaya Kamal, the lotus of heart.
Beautiful. This is
And if you
what
see,
uh,
so,
this is
sorry,
what we chant in Narayan Suktam. Narayan Suktam is all about this. You know that, no?
yes, yes.
Yeah, Raju, you're
Narayan
saying
Suktam.
something?
This,
No,
yeah.
I was only saying here it is in the same context. He gives the next few lines talk about Hridaya Chakra is having 8 petals, while the Sahasrara has 16,000 petals. In that discourse, he adds on saying that that is why Krishna had is given comparison of having 8 consorts or 8
Okay.
formalized wives and 16,000 gopikas.
Gopikas.
So those 8
Oh,
are the Hridaya Chakra and 16,000 are the Sahasrara Chakra.
Shastra
And
Chakra.
another point, just important point which he makes in same context is the way in which the word emerges. He talks about how Swami says the human body or the vocal cords are only capable of emitting a voice, emitting a sound, but not word. So when you have to pronounce a word, Swami gives the explanation that idea is conceived by the mind and then it is passed on to the prana shakti. Prana shakti takes it and it plays on like the frets of the veena. It plays on the frets of this Anahata chakra and Vishuddha chakra. That's where the voice it comes out as a particular word. So that is
Ah,
why
beautiful.
uh, we have been talking about how word itself is an act of grace. That vak is a act of grace. That is where Swami is drawing this explanation.
actually, Raju, thank you for bringing it up. Actually, I skipped it. The point Ram also explains it. Ram Gita explains it very beautifully. He says the Vishuddha Chakra is only capable of sound. The word comes from Atman, and that shook me up. It is
Wow.
so like it was beyond me to like understand what do you mean by that, because we will always correlate as sound as word. But in Ramagita, he writes very clearly that Vishuddha Chakra you get sound, but word comes from that. So, Brother Anil, can you explain that part? It's beautiful. I think I was so fascinated. I'm still bowled over that. I'm still contemplating on it. So I am not
This is
ready to
exactly what
talk
we have
about
been discussing, no? Para
Yes.
pratyak means para, pashyanti, madhyama, and vaikhari, right? See, the vaikhari is the sound that we are hearing, but the other two, what Rangnath brother was just now mentioning, Swami has said, no, the Anahata and the Vishuddha together they play the strings, right?
Yes.
Which is the madhyama and the pashyanti, and actually the energy is coming from para. See, the
Beautiful.
four steps Swami has exactly told the same way, right? It's
Beautiful.
exactly the same. So
Beautiful.
beautiful, really. And that is the reason why again we have to again remind ourselves why Satyam Vada becomes so important. Because word comes from Atma. If word comes from Atma, then the word given as well as the word spoken has to be truth.
So
That
in
is
a way,
why
if you
Ram
look at
asked
it,
for
yeah,
Satyavak, right?
but in a way, if you understand it now, what I understand is that word is not given, it is. So he
Yeah,
is the word. So the sound is only just vibrational cacophony, which gets some meaning, a word, because of the Atman. So
correct.
Atman is actually getting reflected through sound, and that sound becomes Akshara, which is
Yeah,
Omkar we hear. And the sound which we hear is Vaikari part, but the other end of the spectrum is that Para.
yeah. Para.
So
That's
the beauty, what I've realized here is then he says the Vishuddha Chakra only takes out sound, not the word. I
correct.
am like, I'm still dancing in this thought that my God. So what is the sound and what is this word? It's so beautiful that everything. So imagine the activity which we can go slow motion is like the breath coming from the Muladhara coming to Vishuddhi. But now the thought which has originated from the Sahasrara must go back to Atman to quantify what you are trying to say into words, and that gets uttered. So this whole process happens in the Nimish Matra,
Yeah,
as they say.
that's it. So that is a time scale. The whole thing is the whole life is all about time scale. We discussed that, right?
Yes, femtosecond.
I, my God, isn't it fantastic? Like the thought which also comes from the cosmic consciousness, but in our body, this energy rises from Muladhara, goes to Vishuddhi, but gets permission from Atma, converts into word, and that is uttered in some kind of wow.
Beautiful, really.
Thank you, brother Raju. I was skip. I don't know how I skipped it, but you got it. It's very good.
Beautiful, really. It gives so much perspective to why Swami also used to give so much importance to word. No?
Now, if you look at it, can I say this? I'm just extending my
And in
thought
fact,
further.
just a aside, my father was not well and he was hospitalized. All that Swami used to be, Dr. Aldeja used to go and tell, report to Swami every day his condition. Only thing that Swami used to constantly ask him or ask us what was, is he able to speak? And when he was not able to speak, the evening he was not able to speak, that night he passed away.
Wow. 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 The
That's
connection got over. That's it.
connection got over. That's the thing. So
Oh,
I think that's a very beautiful point also with respect to life force. How long will the life
wow.
force exist? Maybe Swami was trying to
Wow.
tell us, give a hint when that's going to happen. Swami is trying to, that's why Swami is to only ask that question to us. He is speaking.
Wow. I'm just extending this thought for a practical purposes that how important is our language, the words we use, because if we are not having good vocabulary, the pure vocabulary to
Correct.
speak,
Yes. Yes.
that could also be reflecting how clouded and rusted our
Is our
that
mind. The
chitta is.
Madhyama is, right?
Madhya is clouded.
That's clouded. Because what is coming from Atma is pure. Finally, the Vaikhari is distorted because in between mind plays a role.
So if we are not speaking proper words, if we are not using good vocabulary also, is a sign that something is missing somewhere. My
Yeah.
God.
And if our mind becomes purer, our words become far more effective.
Effective.
Is it not?
I always questioned primary
Because
school.
as yeah,
I question them. If you hear their talks and speeches, they would always use phenomenal language.
yeah,
So many times people have questioned that these small children, why you make them speak such a good language? And in fact, one day Bhagwan was talking, Kasturi Aru said to Bhagwan that Swami, you talk such a big words to these kids. Do they understand? And Bhagwan said, what I have, I am giving. I can use my side standard. And here is the children who are prepared to speak that language. You cannot even utter these words if you are not clean from there.
Correct.
And Bhagwan was natural. So imagine the correlation. Now it makes more sense to me when I look at it that obviously Bhagwan could not help it because it was coming out of the same, the platform what he is. So he has to, whatever comes out has to be the best. And
Best.
children are prepared to speak that language so that their chitta remains pure. It is so
Yes.
beautiful.
Beautiful. And maybe
My
one other thing that we should add here, because Swami in Premavahini also has written that the language that is ours, right? We shouldn't forget, because no, it is through, just as we are discussing, speaking good language also backward it will start cleaning up the mind, right?
mind.
So Sanskrit, which was there earlier, right, got replaced with all this English, right, which is not capable of purifying the mind as much, maybe because Sanskrit is Deva Bhasha, right? It has come, all the letters have come from Maheshwara's Sutra, from Lord Mahesha, right? So,
Hmm.
therefore, speaking of Sanskrit or speaking of our vernacular languages, which are outcome of Sanskrit, right, will help in purifying the mind better, because it will then lead us backward to our
It's
source. Is it
fantastic.
not?
It's a fantastic
Why
thought. My God.
why vernacular languages should be encouraged is, I think this is the core reason why, because Swami writes it in Prem Vahini that you shouldn't forget your native
Mother tongue.
language, mother
Mother
tongue.
tongue. Yeah. Oh, he promoted it so much. He himself
Yeah,
spoke about it. What can you say about Latin? Fantastic. And look at that. This leads to prajna, and we were talking about that knowledge, prajnanam brahma. And Ram explains that prajna is two types. One relates to the world, which enables you to understand what you see around you and how the material world goes on. And the second one relates to the spirit, enables you to see the aspect of Atman in all living beings as one and the same. So prajna is of two types. And I think it makes just perfect sense, that the whole cosmos, that energy in a physical world is also the same, and but there is a commonality link there, right? The link is oneness, the unity factor. In the world, you try to see that how it goes through the same thing, that Atman is the source of external activities or manifestations, and that same Atman is everywhere, is the next aspect of it. And let me share one more thing, and then you can share your thoughts. Is that is called Prajnanam Brahma? Here he says, and okay, let me stop here, brother. You want to say anything about that last slide?
Yeah, but
yeah,
as we are talking, I think Ramachandra has is such a uh, thoughtful teacher that he first took up that the four Brahma
mahavakyas.
mahavakyas, and then he spoke about the seven chakras, and both of them lead to the same destination. Both of them,
Yeah,
the end destination of the four mahavakyas is Pragyanam Brahma, and the destination of seven chakras is also Pragyanam Brahma. He is telling Hanuman that whichever way you go, you ultimately end up to this point. And he is giving
Beautiful.
a beautiful explanation of Swami also gives in one of the Upanishads. My daughter's name is Prajna, and we had named it. We had named her as Prajna, but we wanted a formal definition. So searching Swami's discourses, and yes, there is Swami gives a definition, and in one of the discourse he says, "This is Aham Atma Asmi iti Prajna."
Ah,
So to have a continuous and the integrated knowledge that you are aham atma asmi iti prajna. I am atma, the eternal, unchanging, ever present principle. That is prajna, and that is
beautiful.
what is the culmination of the knowledge of Rama giving to Hanuman.
See, I'm reminded of what Swami told my father. My father, first Swami, initially gave him a mantra, and for close to, I think, 18 years, he would, morning 3 he used to get up, and for 3 hours he used to sit and do japam. A very disciplined life. He was working in PRO office all the time and led a very disciplined spiritual life connected only to Bhagwan. And during the later part, I think this was after 15 years of his coming there and doing this. In interviews, I used to very often call him for interviews, and we used to, we were kids then. We used to sit along and listen to it. And in one of the interviews, Swami said, Murthy, how long do you want to be in this same class? So my father said, Swami, I didn't understand. So he said, how long do you want to do the same japam? How long do you want to do same puja? So he said, Swami, whatever you have told, I am doing. Then Swami said, Murti kitanta apese. బయట కూర్చుని అటుపక్క వెళ్తున్న వాడిలో ఉన్న ఆత్మ నాలో ఉన్న ఆత్మ ఒకటే, ఇటుపక్క నుంచి వస్తున్న వాడిని చూసి తనలో ఉన్న ఆత్మ నాలో ఉన్న ఆత్మ ఒకటే, ఇలా అనుకుంటూ ఉండు చాలు, నీకు ఆత్మజ్ఞానం నేను ఇస్తాను అన్నారు.
Beautiful.
Exactly what Swami just now that
So, brother,
slide
please
which you showed, no?
that for the audience.
Yeah,
Please translate that.
what Swami said was enough means that don't stay only at that level of doing japam and puja. You now sit or just sit outside your flat, look at person who is walking from that side of the road and say the atma who is the in that person and the atma in me is the same.
Oh, that
Look
was
at
your
that.
father.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Oh my God. I've heard this. Oh my God.
And then Swami said, look at another person who is coming from other side, and then say, repeat the same thing. Keep doing this, and I'll give you Atma Sakshatkar. This is exactly the translation of the slide which you just now put, seeing the Atma in everyone as the same, right?
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Exactly the same.
Somebody narrated this story on the chat on the show here, but I didn't know it was your father. But I was that time also we are so amazed at how simple Swami gave this
Yeah.
mantra. Look at a person and know that Swami is going out, Swami is coming inside.
Yeah.
Everybody's walking is Swami. And he did that. How long did he do that?
He towards the end it was clear to us that he got the Atma Sakshatkar. We were doubtless about it, because towards the end, no, the way he was behaving was very, very unusual. The amount of joy we used to feel when we used to go near him was something we feel when we go near Bhagwan. And he also, every time my sister used to come to Patti before she leaves after doing the duty, security duty, so I used to give namaskar. So that trip of hers, Sami didn't give namaskar. So she came to my father and said, I didn't get namaskar. I'm feeling how I don't know how to go. And my father normally such times whenever such things are told, he used to say, go and sit and try again or pray to Swami. Swami knows, something like that. That day suddenly he said, and 21 days after this he passed away. That day he suddenly said, take my namaskar, same as Swami. Just so naturally he said, take my namaskar. It's Swami only. He said.
So beautiful. So beautiful. So beautiful. So
Wow.
beautiful.
Very profound.
Yeah.
Lovely. Lovely. No doubt about it. Lovely. Let me do the formality of finishing this, otherwise I'll get too emotional about it. So he gives you that signs and symptoms here. He says of Pratyagatma. He says also one beautiful thing is that you get vision of light and you get vision of sound, the audibility of various sounds. And these sounds can be heard even before the vision of light and after that also. And he has explained, I have not brought it here because there's a long list of lights and sounds that Bhagwan Ram has explained. It has light like a firefly light also is there, candle light is there, and a light which is equivalent to like 1,000 suns burning together. So he says that different size, brightness you'll see, and the sound there are 9 types of sound in Shiv Puran, they explain. But here Ram explains sounds in a very beautiful way. He talks about the musical instruments kind or chirping of birds and nature
Yes,
sound,
Kriya Yoga, everything
raindrop.
comes in there. It's
It's phenomenal. So these are signs and symptoms that we are progressing as a yogis. So he says you will see all of that, and this becomes part of it. And I was mentioning you that that there's this perfume which emanates from these saints. Like Bhagwan also had the perfume.
Bodhi.
Later
Yeah.
part, he started. Somebody must have given him or whatever. He used to use a perfume, and we thought that that is kind of a closest reminder for Bhagwan to us. So I keep that perfume with me. But Swami also had a natural perfume, and that was fantastic. So these are signs and symptoms of yogic purushas. Any thoughts on these ones, brother?
These
I
are
think
what are given in Kriya Yoga.
Yeah. And then he says that people who have the yogis, and he defines yogis as their mind is fully under control, and they have conquered their breath, indriyas, and the lower self. How would you define lower self?
The
yeah,
Mula, Dhara, and the Swadhisthana.
Aha. So that can't, my God, conquered, not activated, it's conquered. And he says, Ram also gives a kind of a warning here. He says, Hanuman, he who has not had the perception of Pratyagatma is not entitled to hear the meaning of mahavakyas. As you said, he was quite strict about it. Bhagwan Baba was a little relaxed. And then he explains and I would request all of the viewers here to read Ram Gita for this portion, because who has the mind under control? I have just captured these 3 paragraphs just to give an idea about it. We talk about conquering the tongue, and he says, he who, even though he eats, is never prepared or able to say that is dainty food, and this is not. He who speaks graciously, truly, and sparingly is said to be tongueless. That is one who has conquered his tongue. He who, having heard, touched, eaten, seen, and smelt, is not delighted or does not praise. He who is unselfish, who is free from egotism, who is indifferent, having no request of any kind to make, who hopes for no good things, and who loves solitude, is without doubt liberated. So these
Wow.
are signs of people who have
These are,
mind.
I think next time, no, at least you should put in Sirdi Sai Satcharitra, if you read, exact description of Baba. They describe Shirdi Baba, right? Verbatim, this is. Verbatim. They just
So,
describe Baba. Who is Baba? In one of the chapter, it comes exactly these are the words they speak.
and
Amazing,
he's
no?
got long
And
list.
we
I
lived
was
with
reading
Baba, right?
even I
So imagine.
yeah,
Swami also exactly same thing.
yeah,
He never bothered
yeah,
about praise, nor was he bothered about blame, right? He was never wanting anything. He was
yeah.
completely selfless. From top to toe, he was selfless. He never bothered about what he ate, how much was he eating, what was he eating. He never bothered, right? Exactly same here. We have lived with, means we have seen living example of a person who is of this type. That's our fortune.
But there is a long list there. You should read that. It's so
You read
mind-boggling.
that
I was
list, and I would say correlate it to Bhagwan. You will
yes,
find
easy.
perfect correlation. Perfect correlation.
So you can imagine each one we go through it. One by one we look at it and we realize that, my God.
Baba used to,
But
Shirdi Baba he made it even more evident. He used to collect the bhiksha that he used to get in one pot. Everything used to be mixed, be it sweet, hot, chili, everything used to be mixed. He used to mix everything, and then he used to leave it there, it seems, for birds and dogs to also take from that, and then is to take whatever he felt like from that. That was how
I'll
Baba was
give
when
you
he
my
first entered Shirdi,
I'll
right?
give you my
So
observation. I'll give you my
fascinating when we
observation.
see that. No, you read. I
Yeah.
think that those excerpts, no, as is, we should pick from Satcharitra and put it here, and then compare both. You'll see verbatim. It's exactly Bhagwan. And description is so beautiful. Sometimes I feel, no, I always keep imagining reading that passage and imagining Swami. Though Siddhi Baba, it seems, though he spoke at length, he was always silent, right? Though he watched the dances of Nautch girls, he was unsavoring from Atma. Though he walked morning and noon from Lendi to Dwaraka Mai, right? He was non-moving, he was constant, and he was still. The descriptions that are given is so fascinating. Ditto to Bhagwan. Though Bhagwan spoke everything, he was actually all the time calm. He was
Well,
always silent.
I'll give you one of the observations of mine. Normally if you eat, you say your hand got dirty, right? We have to wash our hands. If you feed somebody or a child is fed, you want to wash your hand. Have you like I'm sure all of us have watched it, so I'm just sharing that. There are occasions when Bhagwan creates vibhuti and puts it in the person's mouth. Especially the sick people. When I have seen him, one like totally paralyzed person was lying down and Swami put it in his mouth and he literally touched his lips also. And Swami turned and, he just wipes his hand with a handkerchief. Then again he creates something and gives it to somebody else. So, you wonder that, and that time I was recalling that, he's Shiva, he's pure. So whatever he touches is pure. So for him, it didn't
See, where is
matter.
the question of purification required for Agni here? Fire
That's what I'm telling you.
burns. It doesn't
That is the
require to
beauty
be
of Swami.
washed. We make it
Why?
purer. It's anyway fire, right?
So it is so beautiful that when you look at the whole drama with Bhagwan, we are just fortunate and blessed that he chose
No,
us to
really.
at
As you
least.
are just now showing that, no, as you are reading that, I was reminded of Sachitra, that chapter, exact description. And every time I read that, I feel this is exactly how Swami was even in Kulwanthal also. Watching all the dances and all the dramas that are going on, he was still in his own divine bliss,
I think also
untouched,
it's a
unwavering.
very, very subtle, very loving, compassionate warning to each one of us, I suppose. I think he's also telling us, be like this.
Yeah, yeah, correct.
Your ultimate goal is to be like this.
Yes.
Obviously, that's what he talks
Obviously,
about.
my life
That's
is
what
my
he,
message. That's what it is.
yeah, that's what he would tell. No,
But
that
at least we could
following me is
see,
what?
we
Following
could
my
see in
footprint.
reality. At least we could see in reality the actual how does means a person is it possible something now we know it is possible.
Yes, it is possible.
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
we can't. At least none of us can say it's difficult for someone to live like this. We can't say that statement. We know it is possible. We know it is very much doable.
So beautiful. I was scared of this topic. I was really scared in time. Like, my God, what topic Bhagwan is throwing on us? But I guess that is his will, what he wants to communicate. And I feel blessed, actually, honored to be with you all. Brother Anil,
All
Raju,
of
thank
us.
you for sharing.
All
It's
of
such
us.
a lovely thing. So
Yeah.
I'm thankful to audience for, they are also sharing their thoughts, and I would welcome your questions and your suggestions. We'll continue with this offering and we continue praying to Bhagwan that give us the strength to even venture into these areas because this is literally something which requires his grace and blessings, no doubt about it. So thank you, brothers. Any final words before we close for the day?
I know.
Sai Sai Ram, and thank you very much, Sai Ram, brothers.